To follow Christ here was not a Sunday ritual, it was a daily risk. To confess his name was to invite rejection, hunger, or death. And yet, they did not waver. It was to this suffering church that Jesus spoke, not to condemn, but to comfort, not to warn, but to strengthen, not to burden, but to bless. They were a small, fragile people, unknown to the world, yet known by heaven. They walked through narrow streets shadowed by idols, where every corner echoed with songs to false gods. They owned little, yet carried everything that truly mattered. They did not wear crowns of gold, but bore crowns of thorns. They were the church in Smyrna. Jesus started by saying,
"And to the angel of the church in Smyrna write, These things says the first and the last who was dead and came to life."
Before giving them any command, before addressing their pain, Jesus begins with who he is. He calls himself the first and the last, the eternal one, the beginning and the end, the one who stands beyond time. Why does he reveal himself this way? Because Smyrna was a city built on fear. The believers there saw death every day. Friends dragged to prisons, pastors burned at the stake, families torn apart. In such a place, hope feels fragile. But Jesus reminded them that he was here before the pain began, and he will still be there when the pain is gone. He is not a distant deity watching from above. He walked through death himself. He tasted the grave. He knows the chill of the tomb, and he conquered it. To a church staring into the face of martyrdom, this meant everything. He was simply saying, you will face death, but death is not the end. I have walked that road, and yet I live. The first and the last knows every chapter, even the ones written in blood. Then Jesus went ahead to say this to the Church of Smyrna.
"I know your works, tribulation, and poverty, but you are rich. And I know the blasphemy of those who say they are Jews and are not, but are a synagogue of Satan."
Here Jesus began with 3 words that pierce like light into darkness. I know, not I've heard, not I assume. I know. Every tear, every hunger pang, every trembling prayer, he knew them all. They lived under constant threat. The Roman Empire demanded worship of Caesar as God. Refusing meant exclusion, mockery, and punishment. Many lost their jobs, others were cast out of families. Their homes were seized, their businesses ruined. They were poor in silver, but rich in faith. Jesus saw beyond empty tables and worn-out clothes. He saw treasures stored in heaven. Their wealth was measured not in coins, but in courage. Not in property, but in purity. Not in comfort, but in character. So he said, you are rich. Not rich in the eyes of people, but rich in the eyes of the kingdom. Poverty on earth does not mean poverty in heaven. Sometimes the empty hands of the faithful are the hands most filled with God. In Smyrna, some who claimed to be God's people turned against his true followers. They accused them falsely, stirred the authorities, and betrayed their brethren. They thought they were defending holiness, but in persecuting Christ's church, they stood on the wrong side of heaven. Jesus called them a synagogue of Satan. Why such strong words? Because every voice that condemns the innocent, every hand that harms the faithful, every heart that hates truth, becomes a tool of the enemy. The church in Smyrna was not just fighting men, they were fighting the unseen powers behind them. And Jesus wanted them to know, he saw who was truly behind their suffering. They were not forgotten. Jesus was their defender. And this is what Jesus said about what was to come.
"Do not fear any of those things which you are about to suffer. Indeed, the devil is about to throw some of you into prison, that you may be tested, and you will have tribulation for 10 days. Be faithful until death."
These words came not from a throne of luxury, but from the scars of the cross. He was not minimizing their pain. He was preparing their hearts. They would soon face trials, imprisonment, humiliation, and death. But before the storm came, Jesus gave them peace. Fear is a weapon of the enemy, but faith disarms it. He was saying, you will suffer, yes, but fear has no power over you, because I am with you. The fire cannot burn what is already refined by faith. He did not promise to take them around the storm, but to walk with them through it. He wanted them to face death not with trembling, but with triumph. Their suffering would not be random. It would be a test, a refining fire, not a destroying flame. 10 days, a set time, a boundary. Jesus was saying, your pain has a limit. The night may be long, but dawn will come. Satan would rage, but he could not reign. He could imprison bodies, but not bind souls. He could silence songs, but not still the faith that sings them. What looked like defeat was shaping eternal victory. Every chain was temporary. Every tear was timed. Jesus went ahead and made this promise.
Be faithful until death, and I will give you the crown of life.
Here, Jesus did not promise wealth or safety, but a crown of life. This is a symbol of honor, victory, and eternal glory. Jesus did not say, be successful. He said, be faithful. In heaven's language, faithfulness is success. For Smyrna, faithfulness meant more than worship. It meant witness, even in death. They would lose their lives but gain eternity. They would trade suffering for splendor, crosses for crowns. The promise of Christ was clear. What they surrendered on earth, they would receive 100-fold in heaven. Finally, this is what Jesus said to the church.
He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. He who overcomes shall not be hurt by the second death.
This message was not for Smyrna alone. It was for every generation that walks through pain and still holds on to faith. The Spirit speaks, but not all listen. Only those who lean in, who choose faith over fear, will understand. The story of Smyrna is a mirror for us all. It whispers, will you remain faithful when the world turns cold? Will you trust when comfort fades? Will you love Christ more than life? He who overcomes shall not be hurt by the second death. The world could take their breath, but not their eternity. They might die once, but they would never die twice. For the second death, which is eternal separation from God, would never touch those whose names were written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Jesus was saying, you may lose your body, but your soul is safe. You may fall in battle, but you will rise in glory. They feared prisons, flames, and swords, but Christ gave them a greater promise. You will never be separated from me. And so Smyrna stood, poor yet rich, persecuted yet blessed, hated yet loved beyond measure. Their courage echoed beyond their city, beyond their time. They were not forgotten, and neither are you. To every believer who suffers in silence, who carries unseen pain, he still says, I know. To every soul tested in fire, he still whispers, fear not. And to every faithful heart, he still promises, be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life. Their story still speaks today. Though the world may take all you have, heaven holds all you need. Stand firm, be faithful, for beyond the cross awaits the crown. In the next video, we'll travel to the city of Pergamos, the church that lived where Satan's throne was, the place where faith and compromise collided, and where Jesus spoke powerful words to his people. So stay tuned, because what he said to Pergamos still speaks to us today. If this story blessed you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss what's next in the 7 churches of Revelation. Until then, stand firm, stay faithful, stay hopeful, and remember, beyond the cross awaits the crown.